I have always been a keyboard and mouse editor. I have spent countless hours memorizing keyboard shortcuts. I've done videos on keyboard shortcuts. I bought a keyboard with all of the keyboard shortcuts for Davinci Resolve printed on it. So why would I ever use a device that took away the need for keyboard shortcuts? Let's talk about it. Lately, I have been all about saving time while editing because my life has gotten busy. There's just a lot of stuff on my plate and also babies. Also, I've recently discovered that the more you can do with one hand, the better, also because babies. So when Tourbox reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to test out the Tourbox Neo, I thought that this might be the perfect little device to solve both of my problems. Now, a little bit of disclosure, Tourbox did send me this for free. However, this is not a sponsored video. There was actually no obligation to make a video at all. No money exchanged hands, and they don't get to see this video before it's published. So this is a 100% unbiased review. All right. Let's get started. The Tourbox Neo is a handy little device that, like I said, is meant to replace keyboard shortcuts. You just plug it into your computer using a USB-C to USB-A cable that's included, and you map out all your keyboard shortcuts to all these little buttons and knobs and switches using the included software. And then you can open up that software and you can scroll and cut and edit just like you normally would, but all with one hand, leaving your other hand free to do things like use your mouse or your tablet or hold a baby. So let's take a closer look at the device. First of all, it's small, like really small. It's small enough for my tiny little hobbit hands to fit over pretty comfortably, which is good for me because I can easily move around to all the buttons and stuff. But people with much larger hands than me might find it a little bit hard. They might find this a little bit too small to use comfortably. And speaking of the buttons themselves, they're very clicky. Listen. Very clicky. There's no mistake when you are pressing down on one of these buttons, which is good because it kind of takes the guesswork out of it. Also, speaking of the buttons, every single one of these has a different shape and a different texture, so there's no question on which knob or button or switch you're pressing down, which makes, no look editing a lot easier. Overall, it's got a really solid build. I don't feel like I'm gonna break this thing. I have no idea what the chassis is made out of, but it does have a nice rubbery, soft to the touch coating that makes it actually really comfortable to use. And they've got these 4 little rubber feet on the bottom that makes it really hard to move around when you place it on a hard surface, which is really important, especially if you're trying to do the whole no look editing thing. If I smack this thing, it's not going to go flying across my desk. Now let's talk about the software. The Tourbox software is actually super easy to install and use, and it comes with a whole bunch of presets for different programs. Unfortunately, they're all Adobe products. Adding shortcuts for other programs is pretty easy. You can either map everything out manually on your own, or you can go to Tourbox's website and download user-generated presets that they have uploaded. They've got presets for a whole bunch of different products, including Davinci Resolve. I actually downloaded somebody else's presets and put them into this software when I first got the Tourbox, but I found that I didn't really like the way that it was set up, so I ended up resetting everything and doing it manually anyway. It was super easy, and it took no time at all. There's even options to create 2 button combinations in the software, which adds to the amount of different short keys you can map to this thing. We'll talk a little bit more about that later in this video. Now, like I said, the software for Tourbox Neo comes with presets for Lightroom and Photoshop and Premiere Pro, basically all the Adobe products, but I don't use the Adobe products. I use Affinity Photo and Luminar AI and Davinci Resolve. So, there's that. Now, I haven't actually gone through and used this thing with Affinity or Luminar, so I can't really speak to those, but I did, like I said, create presets for Davinci Resolve, and basically ever since I got this thing, I've been using it in all of my projects. And at first it was a little bit difficult to get used to. I've been doing keyboard stuff for so long, it was hard not to just automatically move over to the keyboard. But after the first couple projects, it started to become more natural to use this instead of the keyboard. And by now I actually reach for this first, which is which is kind of nice. So it was easy to learn. It just took a little bit of time. I basically mapped out the Tourbox to do all of this stuff that I would normally do in a video. For instance, this little knob right here will zoom in and out of the timeline. This one right here is a jog wheel. This one right here will play forwards and backwards at different speeds and also pause. Just a whole bunch of stuff. I can set in and out points. I can cut. I can ripple delete, ripple trim, just select all to the right, select all to the left. All this stuff that I always do in every single project, I can do with the Tourbox now. So let's talk about some of the things that I like and some of the things that I don't like. As far as likes, I've had no issues with the device itself. No connectivity issues. The buttons have all worked exactly like I mapped them out to be. I was a little bit confused about setting these things up in a couple different locations. For instance, you can set it so the action that you map to the button doesn't actually happen until you release the button. And I didn't know that you could do that, and that made some of the 2-button combinations a little bit tricky at first, but once I figured out what I was doing in the software, it actually became much easier. Now everything works exactly how I want it to. My only issues really have come on the software side. It's easy to use, it's easy to install, but it was a little frustrating finding nothing but Adobe products preset in there and nothing but user-generated presets on their website. It would be nice if Tourbox took the time to create presets for other programs, more complete sets, and maybe more widely used presets, and had those available, maybe even in the software upon install. But you know, like I said, creating new presets, mapping things out is super easy. The only other problem I really had was I wish that there were more options for 2-button combinations. In total, you get 14 single buttons that you can map out and 12 different 2-button combinations that you can map out, making this able to map out 26 different keyboard shortcuts. Now that's a lot, and it really is a lot, but I still find myself having to go back to the keyboard every now and then for a couple of keyboard shortcuts. So it would be nice if I could have a few more 2-button combinations that I could map out, and that way I really would never have to touch the keyboard at all. Overall though, like I said, no issues with the device. The software really is super easy to use, and once you actually get used to using this thing, it does save quite a bit of time, which kind of brings me to my final thoughts. Do I recommend this? Should you pick one up? Should you look into it? Let's talk about all the things. Like I said, the Tourbox Neo is a solidly built device, and it has the potential to save you hours while you're editing. The only flip side to that is that it takes time to learn. It's a totally new system when it comes to muscle memory. So you do need to spend time learning how it works and making your fingers remember which buttons to press for what keyboard shortcuts. But once you take the time to learn it, it's fine. It's just, it takes a while to learn a new workflow. But if you're looking to seriously speed up your editing workflow and you don't mind taking the time to learn a new method, I think the Tourbox Neo, in my mind, might just be the best device out there to help you with that. So thanks Tourbox for allowing me to review this. It really it's helped a lot. I highly recommend it. If you guys want to check out the Tourbox Neo for yourself, there is a link in the description. And yeah, in the meantime, if you want to see something else that I've been using to seriously speed up my editing workflow, click here. And for more tools, tips, and tricks that'll make you a better video editor, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.